Yes, hello, my beautiful friends. It is an amazing Friday. I am so glad you are here and with us, joining us for Watching the Watchers Live. We've got a great stream ahead. It's been a heck of a busy week. And today we're going to be diving into some legal cases. We got some good stuff to go through, including something big in Arizona. Swing state might impact the whole country. We're going to talk about it. But we're going to start today with Jack Smith. He's scrambling around. We know that there was, 1 second, let me see if we have a little bit of a tube problem. Do we have a tube problem over here? I think our locals tubes may be down. 1 second, my friends, while we diagnose what is cooking. What's up? I see, I didn't even confirm that the tubes are working. And it looks like the locals tubes may be down. Let's see. What is cooking over on locals? Why is not locals working? Hello? Ah, okay. Got it. We have it getting fixed as we speak. Okay, let's fix this. Apologies for the delayed start, my friends. Standing by. Coming soon to a locals near you. We're warming the tubes up. It's Friday, Tube Nation. All right, let's see if that works. Come on, locals. Come on, locals. We're waiting for the tubes. What's up? I see YouTube's working. What's up, Tony Haymuckets? Good to see everybody. How's the Friday going? Let's see. There it goes. Okay, now locals is working. That's tremendous news. Now we can go ahead and get started. So, what the heck were we talking about? It's working. There was a clog in the tubes. We'll fix that. So, we have some business to attend to. On the docket today, my friends, Jack Smith is scrambling around. We know Judge Chutkan was racing in overtime to get the January 6th case back on the docket so that they could get Trump tried in D.C. before the election came about. But now Jack Smith, I think, is having a hard time reconciling the Supreme Court decision with his indictment, because the Supreme Court decision says there's at least a presumption of immunity for presidential conduct, stuff arguably within the outer perimeter of presidential duties. And Jack Smith talked a lot about that in his indictment. So big problems for him. Now he's scrambling. He's asking for more time. Judge Chutkan just came out today, is granting him more time. And John Bolton, I've got a clip of him. Trump's commenting about the Supreme Court and other things. And so all of that is what we'll be talking about starting out. Then we're going to jump into Smartmatic. You may have seen this, but the Department of Justice, you know Smartmatic, you may remember them from 2020 when we spent a lot of time talking about how that election was rigged. Well, they're one of the companies that was in the news a lot, and now their CEO has been indicted by the DOJ for bribery charges. Whew, so we're going to talk about that, and we're going to try to do our best not to get sued for $1 billion, hopefully. We'll see if we can avoid that, ideally. That'd be good, because I don't have it. So we're going to talk about it because the DOJ did release a press release on this, and we have a great X thread that came out from this guy called J. Michael Waller, at J. Michael Waller, just like it sounds, on X, put together a great thread about Roger Alejandro Piñate Martinez. He is apparently the president, CEO, something of Smartmatic. Indicted. Yikes. All right, so we'll talk about it. Then, in our final segment, Arizona is submitting an emergency appeal. I would say the Republican Party of Arizona, the Arizona GOP, RNC rather, has submitted an emergency appeal to the Supreme Court of the United States. And it's a very interesting one because there's a lot of information back and forth about illegal aliens voting in our elections. And everybody on the left, no, they would never get a form. No way, that's not possible. They could ever theoretically even possibly vote illegally in an election in America. It's like, come on. You want to put some money on that? Would you put your house on that? Oh, no. There's not going to be any illegals voting. Put your car on it. Let's see put your money where your mouth is. I put my car on it that they will be voting illegally. So this is now Arizona Senate Republicans who are filing suit with filing for an application for an emergency stay at the United States Supreme Court. We're going to read through it because it's going to parse through a bunch of the details about how this is all working and how the shenanigans are in effect. So we got 3 good things to get to today, 3 great segments. It's a beautiful Friday. I hope your week was incredible and you accomplished every single thing you set your mind to, and you did it with tremendous execution. So we're grateful to have you here. We also had a great members-only stream this morning. If you missed that, we go live 6 days a week. We do Saturday streams for our members, also on Locals and on YouTube. And we had a great stream this morning where we were talking about all sorts of the other political news that we can't get to here. We cover it in the morning, and we have a lot of fun. Little smaller streams. We kind of let our hair down a little bit. Great community, great people, and they're a ton of fun. So come check it out. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com or become a membo over on the YouTubes. And so, without any further ado, my friends, let's get into it because we've got business to attend to, starting with Jack Smith scrambling around trying to figure out what to do about the immunity ruling from the Supreme Court. Might result in his indictment having catastrophic problems. That means the entire case might go bye-bye for him. And so we're going to go through what we see here is a joint status report from the government. So this is from Jack Smith. You can see down here his team. It's also signed by Trump's people because, of course, they're not going to oppose this ever at all. They've been demanding, in fact, extensions of time, but now we're going to see Jack Smith is scrambling, asking for an extension. So they're going to say, yeah, sure, take all the time in the world you want. We've been asking for it since the beginning, but okay. You remember Molly Gaston. We haven't heard from her in some time. The highlighter gal. She was very excited about her discovery, even though there's like 8 million, 13 million, 15 million pages of documents. More than Walmart versus Visa, which took about 7 years to litigate. About 13 million pages in this case. They're going to take they wanted about 7 months to litigate, really. And now they got a delay. So Molly, the highlighter girl, she's like, no, they don't need to read all those 13 million pages. I highlighted the appropriate locations for them. And I'm going, what? We don't care about your sticky notes, Molly. Thanks, though. So she's a prosecutor. She's there with the rest of the prosecutors over there. And they're submitting this. Now, this is so curious because they just got dropped on 8/8. And remember, the case just came back down to Judge Chutkan. So the Supreme Court had it. They kicked it back down. She's like, all right. Now, Chutkan, this entire time since the case was up on appeal, everything should have been stayed, right? There should have been nothing happening really from her perspective at all. The case is paused. Trump is immune from the process of being prosecuted. That's what immunity means. It doesn't mean that Trump still has to deal with all of this stuff, right? And he is like having an army just build up against him to unleash the floodgates against him if and when she does get the case back. It's supposed to just be kind of just, hey, pause everything, let the Supreme Court decide, not supposed to come back in bad faith to you, Judge Chutkan. But that's exactly what happened. She came back. As soon as she got the case, she's like dropping motions all over the place. Denied, denied, denied. We're like, Chutkan, you were writing those opinions before you got your document back, right? Like the court didn't have jurisdiction. You got the order. Okay, now you have jurisdiction. Now you can start working on this case again because now it's back to you. That's not what happened, okay? She was, in her coffee shop, like writing whatever. And then as soon as she got it, she's like, oh, look what I just happened to finish. All these opinions. And just drops them all out. Okay, Judge. So you kind of started the race before we fired the gun to go, right? You kind of were cheating a little bit there. All right, that's fine. But you're allowed to get away with it. But she was now trying to accelerate this, like, let's go fast, really quickly. And then suddenly Jack is like, what? Why are we going so fast? I don't know what to do here. I'm Jack Smith. I'm not even a real boy. In the district court for the District of Columbia, we see this motion. It's a joint status report and the government's unopposed motion for an extension of time. Jack, well, I thought you were ready like now. Why do you need a delay? Oh man, that's so embarrassing. On August 3rd, the court issued an order from Judge Chutkan, right? She got the case back like that day. She's like, I can't wait to see everybody back here. She's like, I'll see you here tomorrow, right? Said it immediately. Ordering a status conference being scheduled on August 16th. And directed the parties to confer and to file by August 9th, that's today, a joint status report that proposes a schedule for pretrial proceedings moving forward. Right? So she already scheduled a court date for next week. Like, get your booties in here. We're going to talk about it and schedule it. Now, the parties have conferred. So the prosecutors have met with Trump's team. Now, the government, Jack, who's not even a real boy, continues to assess the new precedent set forth last month in the Supreme Court decision in Trump's immunity case. Huh? You continue to assess it, Jack? It's like you're not ready? Oh, see, this is more what you would actually expect. Like, actually, this is kind of what we would expect, right? Jack was not supposed to be working on this case at all, actually. So it should take a lot of time. Now, the fact that he is not playing catch, right, with Chutkan is what's so embarrassing about this. Because she just set him up. She's like, bro, okay, it's on a tee, okay? It's T-ball. I'm not even going to pitch it to you. It's a T-ball. Just here. Here's the ball. Just come up here. Just hit it. Okay, like 5-year-olds do it, so just hit it. Jack's like, I don't know. I don't know about that, Judge. I think I need some more time. So the left is just furious about this, okay? Now, it's the right thing, actually. Jack shouldn't have even touched this case. We know that he was working on this case. So the idea that he wasn't, the idea that he was like, well, I can't work on this case because, you know, it's a pending appeal. I don't buy that for a second. He was working furiously on it. He just got bit. They're idiot lawyers. And so this came back down and they're like, holy crap, Trump's immune. Our indictment is totally ridiculous because it has always been ridiculous. Now they're just totally scrambled. So they say, all right, look, including through consultation with other DOJ components, saying a special counsel shall comply with the rules and practices of the DOJ, and we must consult with other appropriate offices within the department for guidance and with respect to established practices, policies, and procedures. Now, although those consultations are underway, the government has not finalized its position on the most appropriate schedule for the parties to brief issues related to the decision. Wow. The government therefore respectfully requests additional time to provide the court with an informed proposal regarding the schedule for pretrial proceedings moving forward. Jack is floundering. Whoa. The defense does not object to the government's request for an extension, obviously. Okay, Trump's people have been asking for an extension forever. Forever. Now, you'll notice in this motion, we're going to hear from John Bolton in a minute, but he's going to explain, well, no, this is because of department policies and that they can't prosecute people in the run-up in the months leading up to an election, which is all total hogwash. Okay, the DOJ doesn't follow their own policies. Well, they'll cover up for Hunter. They'll warn his defense attorneys, stall any prosecutions happening there. But with Trump, no, in fact, they timed it so the trials would happen in the middle of the election year. All of them, until Trump's defense started to notch victories. So the defense never would object to an extension here. And if Jack were complying with some departmental policy, like they're not going to have a trial or something within 60 days of an election or 120 days or 6 months or whatever, right? They just make it up. It doesn't really matter. Originally, it's like, well, when they're talking about Hunter, it's like, well, we don't investigate. You don't even investigate during an election year? No, not even investigate. Or something leading up to an year. And then the rules all change. Well, no, it's like for Trump, it's like, well, we don't schedule trials, but we can do everything else. And we only don't schedule trials if it's within 30 days of the election. You're like, that's our policy. You're like, well, that's very different than not investigating, right? Because to get to a trial, you got to investigate, you got to indict, you got to do all the things to lead up to the trial, the pretrial conferences, and then the trial. So what is the standard? Nobody knows. It just is whatever suits them best. So Trump is saying, yeah, push it out, man. We don't care, idiots. We'll take it all the way up till to the end of past the election. And I forgot, I have to stop saying idiot so much. I had dinner with Mama last night. She says, it's not good to call names. It's true. It's true. And I love my mama. She's a good reminder. Thanks, Mom. So accordingly, the government requests that the court enter an order requiring the parties to submit another joint status report by Friday, August 30th, and continuing the scheduled status conference until a convenient day thereafter. So, Judge Chutkan, that August 16th date is not a good date. Not a good date. So we need more time. Now, the government is available any day after August 30th. Wow. And the defense is unavailable on September 6th, which is a hell of a day here. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here on September 6th. I think another hearing, there's a sentencing settlement conference or something with Mercan. It's going to be busy that week. And so that's why they're unavailable. And they're unavailable the week of September 16th, which is the sentencing. Okay, so those are the two New York dates. So respectfully submitted by Molly, John Lauro, and Todd Blanche. And so Jack is in trouble. Why, oh, why is he not ready? And so here's some other reaction. There's people like this guy, you know him, Norm Eisen. He's just a mental case on with whatever news agencies he's on. He's all over the place, CNN, all the things. Kind of a TDS maniac. But he says, look, respectfully, I think Jack Smith request for additional time to figure out a position is a mistake. Yeah, well, what's he going to do? His case is trash, and he's not even a real boy. Now, most of the case survives, as we explain in our report, color-coded indictment. The red is out. Okay, so this is his analysis. But the rest is certainly or likely in. Okay, so that's just his analysis of the indictment. Okay, so from a leftoid, here's what he's saying. This is the indictment. All of the red is out. Oops, that's a full page. That's a full page. That's a full page. Just goes on and on and on. Now, the other stuff, the orange, maybe the yellows are questionable, and maybe the greens stay in. Not a lot of green in there. Jack Smith's indictment is crap, just like his career and his fake existence as a prosecutor, stealing money from all of us. Now, here's what Trump said. He says, look, it is clear that the Supreme Court's historic decision on immunity demands and requires a complete and total dismissal of all the witch hunts. The January 6th hoax in Washington, D.C., the case we're talking about, the Manhattan DA's zombie case, the New York AG Tish's scam, fake claims about a woman I never met with a 40-year-old photo in a lineup with her husband doesn't count. That's E. Jean Carroll. Bergdorf got Bergdorf in a dressing room at Bergdorf's. And Georgia's perfect phone call. Now, the Democrat Justice Department coordinated all of these political attacks, which are an election interference conspiracy against crazy Kamala Harris and crooked Joe Biden's political opponent, me. Now, let's come together to end the weaponization of our justice system and make America great again. Now, just to show you sort of what they're talking about over here, here is Bolton on with CNN. It's just fake what they're saying. He's talking about that it's about DOJ policy, that they can't go and prosecute him before the 2024 election. It's like, hello? Chutkan has specifically said that she would do that on record. She'll hold a trial in August, September. She didn't give a crap. John?
Ambassador John Bolton is here. It's great to have you. Ambassador, when you hear this, what do you read into Jack Smith asking for more time from the judge to kind of sort through this when he's actually typically been the one pushing to get this case in trial in court faster?
Okay, listen to this Cope.
Well, I think it's less Jack Smith than it is dealing with the rest of the Justice Department on two levels. First, I think this question of timing and what can be done or not be done pursuant to Justice Department policy before an election is going to take some time to resolve, because there's never been a case like this. It's another piece of uncharted territory.
Yeah, of course, because there's no precedent for it, because you guys shattered 234 years of precedent to have somebody who a federal judge found is not even a legitimate special counsel at all, who misappropriated $24 million, is in charge
of how much they're actually going to be able to do in September, October. But I think the other issue is the Supreme Court decision on immunity is an extraordinarily broad decision, and it's wrong in many respects, in my view. One respect in which it's wrong is that it's too simplistic in its assessment of how the executive branch works. And I think within the Justice Department, you have a lot of components that have responsibility for protecting the executive branch but also prosecuting criminals. And before Jack Smith plunges ahead with whatever his view of how to interpret that immunity decision is, the rest of the department has to come to agreement. And I think there's probably a lot of discussion, and that's a big cause of the delay.
Okay, so he basically said nothing there. Like, they're just talking. They'll have to talk about different things and prosecuting other criminals and how this impacts other cases. This is a special counsel case. They've already been racing this case to trial. The fact that Jack Smith is backpedaling right now means their case is not good. He's scrambling to try to figure out what to do about it. And even Norm Eisen's color-coded indictment analysis shows huge swaths of this case, at least in the red, orange, and yellow. Not good. Certainly or likely in, I don't think so. That's a good cope there. The case, as John Bolton said, is very broad, and the immunity decision wrecks everything. That's why Jack Smith is scrambling. We're not going to have another court date until a bit later because Judge Chutkan has agreed to move this. And what did I do with the court listener docket? So let me show you the actual docket on the case so you can see where we're going with this. Chutkan grants the government's unopposed motion for an extension of time. So Jack Smith gets exactly what he wants. Democrats blown out. Womp. Says the joint status report previously due by August 9th is now due by August 30th. Oh! The status conference previously scheduled for August 16th is now continued to September 5th. What a great week that's going to be. Oh my goodness. So one day before the sentencing hearing or the status conference hearing in New York, and then the next day will be the status conference. One day before, next day status conference. Going to be busy. Then Trump will be sentenced the next day. And then I think the 10th is the debate. So we got the debate, then Trump's sentencing. And it's going to get spicy, my friend. So we'll be here continuing to cover this case and more. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're watching it. That's what, so we don't miss you on the next one. All right. So that's a Jack Smith update. Now let's turn our attention to this interesting case of Smartmatic. Very curious. Smartmatic, an election company we talked a lot about in 2020 when we had some problems with that election, is now facing a PR crisis because the president of Smartmatic was indicted today. He's among 4 who were indicted by a federal grand jury for bribery and fraud-related charges related to electronic voting systems. Not good. The DOJ is naming this guy called Roger Alejandro Piñate Martinez in the news release, but does not identify him as president of Smartmatic. So we're going to read through this actual press release from the DOJ. Office of Public Affairs tells us 4 men were charged in a Philippine bribery and money laundering scheme, right? So it's not here in the United States, it's in Philippine. And it's just a couple of people who were involved in the company. They don't mention, it's like the president of the whole operation. CEO, I believe was his title. Smartmatic, says CNN, the voting technology company that's now suing Fox News and Trump, was implicated. Court documents indicate the DOJ has filed money laundering charges against former election administrator of the Philippines, Andres Bautista, and that 4 executives from Smartmatic subsidiaries are also involved. Now, Smartmatic is responding to this, and we'll go through their statement. But here is what this analysis looks like from this fella. This guy has been great on this. J. Michael Waller, and we reposted this at the top of our timeline so that you can take a look at that if you want to follow along at home, because he's really put together a beautiful summary of what is happening and how this is all working. And so let's go through this thread from J. Michael Waller. He tells us that Smartmatic says that in their own documents that President Piñate played a critical role in planning and executing the world's largest election using optical scanners. Now, this was in the Philippines. And in Smartmatic winning the largest election contract in U.S. history, all right? So that's this guy. And he's clipping this directly from their website. It says Roger played a critical role in all of this stuff, right? And I'm sure, corruption, bribery, that type of stuff is only limited to non-American countries, because we're so different than everybody else. So here's what J. Michael Waller says. Now, before we continue, let's go take a look at the DOJ assessment, because he is the president, Smartmatic president, indicted today. He was a team member. As the president of Smartmatic, Roger is responsible for the execution of strategic efforts, daily business functions. He's the co-creator of the company's long-term vision, electrical engineering, co-founded Smartmatic with 2 partners, played a critical role in executing the world's largest election using optical scanners in the Philippines and winning the largest election contract in U.S. history in LA. So here's what the DOJ says about this. Says, all right, look, a federal grand jury in Florida came back with an indictment today, charging 3 executives of an election voting machine company, Smartmatic, and a former chairman of the Commission on Elections, so COMELEC, we'll call it, of the Republic of Philippines for their roles in bribery, money laundering to retain and obtain business related to the 2016 Philippine elections. Now, according to the indictment, which has not been released yet, I'm still trying to get my hands on it to zoom in on it, but the DOJ has not released it, and it may still be in the process of being unsealed. We'll see. But they say, according to the indictment, between 2015 and 2018, so for about 3 years, this guy, the president, Roger Alejandro Piñate Martinez, 49, a Venezuelan citizen and someone who lives as a resident, Boca Raton, Florida, and Jorge Miguel Vasquez, 62, a U.S. citizen and resident of Davie, Florida, along with others, allegedly caused at least $1 million in bribes to be paid to Juan Andres Donato Bautista, former chairman of COMELEC. So somebody over in the Philippines. These bribes were allegedly paid to obtain and retain business related to providing voting machines and election services for the 2016 Philippine elections, including the release of value-added tax payments. Now, the co-conspirators allegedly funded the bribes through a slush fund that was created by over-invoicing the cost per voting machine for the 2016 Philippine elections. To disguise and conceal the nature of the corrupt payments, the co-conspirators used coded language to refer to the slush fund and cause the creation of fraudulent contracts and sham loan agreements to justify the money transfers. The co-conspirators then allegedly laundered funds through banks in Asia, Europe, and the United States, including in Florida. Now, Piñate and Vasquez, so one president, are each charged with 1 count of conspiracy to violate the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act that Hunter never got charged with for doing exactly this. Bautista, Piñate, Vasquez, and Eli, a dual citizen of Venezuela and Israel, are each charged with 1 count of conspiracy to commit money laundering and 3 counts of international money laundering monetary instruments. If convicted, they face a maximum 5 years in prison and more. Principal deputy is leading this up. HSI is leading this up. Trial attorneys are so-and-so. And so, interesting little update there. So we're keeping our eyes out, trying to get tabs on the indictment. Where is that physical indictment? But a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? Isn't this fun? Here is what J. Michael Waller reported for us. He says, here's President Obama voting on the Smartmatic voting machine, right? Even he says it. Voted early today in 2016. Make sure you vote too. Nice Smartmatic machine, right in charge of our elections. Now, this continues. Smartmatic says that its indicted president and COO continues to play a key role in nurturing Smartmatic's relationship with clients. So this is the guy, and he's involved in this. And Smartmatic is telling us that they deny this. They say, Smartmatic has learned that 2 of our employees have been indicted for alleged violations of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act in the Philippines almost 10 years ago. Regardless of the veracity of the allegations, and while our accused employees remain innocent until proven guilty, we have placed both employees on leaves of absence effective immediately, saying no voter fraud has been alleged. And Smartmatic is not indicted, okay? Just our president, which they don't even tell us. It's just 2 of our employees. Bro, is the co-founder. They're on a leave of absence. Okay. No voter fraud has been alleged, and Smartmatic has not been indicted. No, just your co-founder. Voters worldwide must be assured that the elections they participate in are conducted with the utmost integrity and transparency. Really? So hopefully they'll be transparent about who got indicted. Was it their CEO, their president? These are the values that Smartmatic lives by. They don't even tell us the dude's name. So much for transparency. Hilarious. So that's their statement. 1 million views. We've learned 10 years ago. Nah. So very curious about what's happening there. I'm sure it is going to be settled out in the courts. Here's more from J. Michael Waller. He tells us, from today's news release we just read, one of the other 4 indicted is Eli Moreno, age 44, Venezuelan. Moreno is the brother-in-law of this guy called Antonio Mojica, also Venezuelan, who was also the previous president of Smartmatic and reportedly Smartmatic's largest shareholder. And as we're reading this, and like Venezuela, we're starting to think about, guys like Hugo Chavez, and then we start thinking about people like Sidney Powell, and like the dots start to connect themselves, don't they? Isn't that interesting? And we were kind of critical of that whole Sidney Powell, Hugo Chavez general thing where they just bought technology and whatever. Remember that? Oh, it's true. 9 years ago, Smartmatic chairman Mark Malik Brown admitted on the Philippine TV that part of our technology is licensed from Dominion. Huh. That's curious. Malik Brown was Deputy Secretary General of the UN and is now president of the Soros Open Society Foundations. What is going on? Miami Herald is the first mainstream media outlet with a story on the federal indictment of Smartmatic president and co-founder Roger Piñate that Smartmatic, the most transparent company in the world, doesn't even mention on charges of fraud and bribery. Says big news was first out on X, thanks to J. Michael Waller for breaking this, and I reposted him, so make sure you're following him, man, because this is like outstanding. Miami Herald says they gained notoriety after the company was chosen by Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez to replace the country's voting machines. Is Sidney Powell vindicated? The company grew by acquiring the much larger Sequoia voting systems in 2006, though the company later announced it had divested its stake in that company. This guy, Antonio Mojica, who co-founded Smartmatic with Roger Piñate, is the brother-in-law of another federal defendant in the fraud and that bribery case, Elsie Moreno. The third Smartmatic co-founder, Anzola, is deceased. The 3 of those guys helped dictator Hugo Chavez manipulate the voting system to change the Constitution and impose a dictatorship. It's now trending. Smartmatic was yesterday, thanks to J. Michael Waller. Antonio Mojica, the brother-in-law, was indicted along with Smartmatic. Now, he's the CEO of Smartmatic. So this guy, also indicted, right? CEO and the president. 2 bros. They called him 2 employees on Smartmatic. Now, what do you say? He's tagging him. What do you say about this? Why allow paper ballots and voter IDs when you can make a fortune just harvesting biometric data? Says Smartmatic grotesquely understates the problem. Those indicted are not employees, okay? They're the co-founder and the president, the brother-in-law, and the chair of the chairman and the CEO. Woo. Foreign CEO of Smartmatic praised the successful efforts to censor conservatives. Remember these guys? Check this page to see how he was in lockstep with Obama, Biden, Harris. This is what Anthony Mojica says here, co-founder of Smartmatic, investing in democracy. He said, Google announced steps to counter the spread of disinformation, right, before elections. Don't you, right? Tucker got fired from Fox for challenging these election companies. Fox News bent the knee. Here's almost a $750 million. Here you go. We continue doing our part to ensure that every election runs securely and transparently. Right. Read more in my new LinkedIn post. Okay, Antonio. Yeah, that'll be fun. You know what would be very transparent of them is to release the indictment. Would they, or they, they can release it, I'm sure. Have a copy of it unless it's under seal for some reason. Why don't they publish these case files and come out and give a press conference and announce who they are if they're so transparent? J. Michael Waller, 4 years ago, he says, In this important 6-part thread, Byron York of the DC Examiner, remember that, 2020, we talked about it, revealed an affidavit from a former confidant of the Venezuelan dictator Hugo Chavez to show how the Dominion Smartmatic vote-changing operation worked. And Sidney Powell was talking all about that. We read through her motions. And it was a mess, right? It was a mess. I'm not saying her specifically, but the whole situation was a mess. It was like just everybody was trying to file motions. There were deadlines all over the place. We were trying to keep tabs on it. I remember specifically where all the lawsuits filing, where all the re-election deadlines. Sidney Powell, to her credit, was trying to manage multiple different efforts in multiple different states. It was a lot. Now, the operation began decades earlier. The source was a top-level member of Hugo Chavez's presidential guard and was a personal witness to the development and the operation of all this software. The source directly witnessed Smartmatic's collusion with the regime leadership. Smartmatic's system was used to change the voting to amend Venezuela's constitution. Smartmatic had the repeated meetings with Chavez. In 2013 election, Chavez then was 2 million votes ahead. The opponent was 2 million votes ahead, and then the system reset. It's kind of like ours, except they reset ours at like 2 in the morning. Remember when floods in the stadiums. Smartmatic exports its software, they say, for rigging votes across America. Dominion does the same thing. This is Center for Security. Fraud went public. Then in November, J. Michael Waller wrote, I wrote that Venezuela and the regime involvement in Smartmatic posed a grave counterintelligence threat. And saying here, the Bolivian regime of Venezuela survived only because of the secret services of Cuba, Russia, China, and others. Many sophisticated interests happening here. So just absolutely wild. So a lot of the concern about Smartmatic seems like there is at least some evidence of fraud, bribery, corruption. They're, of course, presumed innocent in the court of law. But we've got a very interesting reaction from the company. They're not even telling us the names of these people. So CNN says that the company responded saying, the Smartmatic spokeswoman said, winning a bid in the Philippines is never solely one individual's preference or decision, and the company won and lost bids all over the place. Now, this could boost the defense for Fox News. Could say, yeah, the company's own the company tarnished their own reputation. It wasn't Fox News that tarnished their reputation. So, interesting stuff from Smartmatic. Now, why they're being indicted right now in Florida, I want to see the indictment, hopefully at some point. And when this case hits the docket, we'll take a closer look. Thank you for subscribing and joining us as we do. All right, and now, speaking of elections, we've got another little heavy filing to read through, but it's going to be well worth it as we try to figure out what the heck is going on. Battleground state of Arizona is now filing an emergency petition to the Supreme Court asking for a stay. It's going to Judge Elena Kagan. We'll see what she does with it, but it's a critical issue. It's about illegal aliens voting in the United States, in particular in Arizona, which is a very critical state for both sides to win this election season. The Arizona Republicans and the RNC are taking this directly up to SCOTUS, and there's a lot of confusion around this issue. And so I want to spend some time on this so we know how this is happening, because if the right says illegal aliens are voting, the left says it's illegal, they're not allowed to do that. And we then have to understand how the mechanics work. And this application for a stay explains how the law evolved and why this is such a problem that the Democrats are exploiting, knowingly exploiting it, so that millions of people can get some sort of a vote in past the finish line. So Senate Republicans shared this. Look, as promised, okay, the Arizona State Senate is taking its fight to protect election integrity in the U.S. to the Supreme Court. We filed an emergency application for a stay asking the Supreme Court to block an absurd ruling from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals that allows people who have not provided proof of citizenship to register to vote. So it's going to be very nuanced here. Are they getting forms? Can they vote? Proof of citizenship? What can they do? As well as cast a ballot in federal elections and to vote by mail. So Arizona put in a bunch of limitations. Look, if you can't prove you're a citizen, you can't vote by mail. You don't even get a ballot for that type of an election, and we'll go into the details. The Republicans here say only U.S. citizens should have the privilege of voting in Arizona and in the United States. And so we'll see if the Supreme Court weighs in. But here is what it looks like. An emergency application for a stay filed by the RNC from Arizona in the Supreme Court of the United States by these amazing attorneys, Tyler Green, Gilbert Dickey, Connor Woodfin, Corey Langoffer, and others in this matter, saying the parties, as we know, are going to be the Republican National Committee, people from the Senate. The respondents are Mi Familia Vota, Voto Latino, Living United for Change in Arizona, and a bunch of these other Democratic organizations with multiple different names in there. Like, see all these are very hard. It's hard to keep track of all of them because they just shove names in there. Like, for example, the Arizona Asian American Native Hawaiian and Pacificer Island for Equity Coalition. It's like a full sentence, man. That's one title. Hi, this is Rob calling from the Arizona Asian American Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander for Equity Coalition. Who? It's Rob from the Arizona Asian American Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander for Equity Coalition. Oh, oh, it's you. Hey, okay. It just goes on and on and on. It's like, shit, like LGBTQ plus IXB, Aladocia, Spirit People, the whole, it's like, come on. So anyways, so they're all on this. Bunch of aggrieved groups. I know. It's really hard to register to vote and prove that you're a citizen. Poder Latinx. Latinx is here. I wonder if Jill Biden is interested in their breakfast tacos. Okay. So the state of Arizona, the Secretary of State and others are also responding to this. The related proceedings are as follows. So let's go through it. Telling us when we fast forward past the table of contents and the table of authorities, we see that they are sending this up to Judge Alina Kagan. And let's parse through this. Now they say, all right, look, Supreme Court, this court has repeatedly instructed, told us over and over again, that this Purcell principle, this concept of let's keep things status quo, okay, the Purcell principle, let's not make any sudden movements, is this idea. Let's keep things the same. It stops federal courts from enjoining or stopping the enforcement of state election laws with an election impending. Okay, it's a complicated concept. But if a state has election laws in place and an election is coming up, the status quo principle is saying that courts cannot remove those laws. Okay, look, an election is around the corner. It's like, hey, the game is starting in like 10 minutes. You can't change the rules 10 minutes before the game starts. Otherwise, no one's going to know how to play the game. So Purcell is saying, we don't want voters to be confused by changing the rules at the last minute. And so, why are you changing the rules? Why are you enjoining, why are you stopping a state that's already passed laws from enforcing the law? It says state officials want to protect their elections. But the Ninth Circuit here turned this principle against the enforcement of state election integrity laws. So Arizona passes all these things, stopping illegal aliens from voting. We have an election coming up. There's rules in place. The Ninth Circuit says, no, can't do that. Hey, the status quo Purcell principle says you can't do that. It says as a general interest, there is a status quo. And that we have an interest in a status quo, including a status quo where the district court has enjoined state election law. Now, a divided panel overturned a stay unanimously granted by another panel just days before. So then there's an injunction. Okay, so a lower level court says, Arizona, you can't have your illegal alien laws. Then there's a stay on the order saying you can't do that. So in other words, you can do it. Ninth Circuit says, okay, you know what? The people who said you can't enforce the law, they're stayed. Sorry. Then another panel reverses them. What? The majority says a divided panel overturned a stay that was unanimously granted by another panel just days before. So one panel says the laws can go into effect and then they get reversed immediately. The majority revived a district court injunction, so the lower level court said that Arizona laws that require registrants to prove their citizenship using this form cannot be used. But the Purcell status quo says when a lower court intervenes and alters the election rules, the appellate court must correct that error, even if it doesn't want to do it. Like, it's the rules. You don't get to change the rules at the last minute. But as this judge noted in the dissent, when they reversed us, they abandoned regularity. It led to this peculiar result where 2 judges prevailed over 4 who had voted to stay the order. The 4 judges who voted for the partial stay to stop the stopping of the enforcement, the panel majority found that the Arizona registration law could not be enforced. And this is going to get wild because of a consent decree. Okay, this is just kind of an introductory letter to Judge Kagan. Then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes. So this is where it just gets even more wild. So there's a consent decree. It's a private agreement between a single executive office, which in this case is going to be the Secretary of State, years before the Arizona legislature even enacted this law. Now, the Ninth Circuit also refused to stay the injunction. And this is an unprecedented abrogation of Arizona and our legislature's sovereign authority. We need relief immediately. We have to print ballots, Judge Kagan, by soon, like now. We got until August 22nd. That deadline to resolve any of this ballot stuff is August 22nd. This emergency application also concerns the form and the printing deadline of ballots. And you guys just reversed us. Like, you just changed the rules that were already in existence. The Purcell principle says status quo needs to be maintained, even if you don't like it, because the rules can't change at the last minute. They changed them at the last minute anyways. Now, it's trying to implement its prohibition on voting in presidential elections by individuals who've not provided documentary proof of citizenship. So Arizona must either not print the presidential candidates on the federal-only ballots, or it must configure its tabulation machines not to count the presidential votes on federal-only ballots. And so, accordingly, we need an immediate stay of this injunction, to the extent that the courts are requiring Arizona to accept state form voter registration applications lacking proof of citizenship, right? The courts are going to force Arizona to accept these voters and to allow voters who have not provided proof of citizenship to cast ballots for president or by mail. Arizona created laws. We need to see citizenship. And if we don't have it, you don't get to vote for president and you don't get to vote by mail. All was in place until the courts reversed. Now, the court has jurisdiction over this, and here's the statement to the Supreme Court about why this stay should be granted. Background. Since 2004, Arizona has required newly registered voters to provide documentary proof of citizenship. Now, this court, Supreme Court of the United States that we're in, held that the National Voter Registration Act, a federal law under U.S. Code, preempted that requirement, okay? Supremacy clause of the Constitution says that the federal law supersedes and is supreme over Arizona law. So if there's a conflict, feds win. It preempted that requirement as applied to individuals using the federal form from the Elections Commission. So federal law created a form. Arizona says that your form doesn't include a checkbox for citizenship. And so we're going to add a checkbox essentially for citizenship. Then the court said, no, you can't do that, okay, because our form is the final word. But it did say that state-developed registration forms may require information that the federal form does not. So there's a National Voter Registration Act if they're using the federal form to register to vote in federal elections, okay? But the states can create their own state-developed forms. You can't change our form, but you can create your own forms. So then, after that case came down, Arizona has registered federal form registrants who do not supply citizenship as federal-only voters, okay? If you don't have citizenship, you just get this. You don't get to vote in Arizona elections. So go vote in the federal election, who are eligible to vote only in federal races, right? So Arizona changed the system a bit. State form applicants must still provide documentary proof of citizenship. Okay, now continuing. So then we have these two forms, federal-only voters, federal-only races, or these two buckets, and applicants must still provide documentary proof of citizenship if they're voting in state races. So then, after 2020, when Arizona was rigged, in 2022, Arizona enacted several reforms to its voter registration laws. Two aspects of this legislation are relevant. First, this law requires election officials to reject any state form application that is not accompanied by proof of citizenship. So there's a new requirement. If you're going to vote here, Arizona registration form, Arizona, if you don't have citizenship, it's gone. And second, it provides that voters who have not provided documentary proof of citizenship may not vote for president or by mail. So you don't get mail-in ballots. We're not giving you all of that stuff. If you want to get a mail-in ballot, show us you're a citizen. We're happy to pay for the postage to get it out to you. So then, right, that makes sense. These are safety mechanisms to say you just don't get a ballot unless you prove your citizenship. You just don't get a ballot. You don't get to register. Now, the United States, the government, and various private plaintiffs, the Latinx organization, the Asian American, whatever, Jamaican, whatever, all the things, all join in. They initiated litigation. They say, whoa, proof of citizenship, that's terrible. That's not what we're even in existence for. Now, because the Secretary of State refused to implement the relevant provisions of the law in 2022, because they're a Democrat, the plaintiffs never sought or obtained preliminary injunctive relief, right? So they're like, well, it's not being enforced, so we don't need to sue. So then the district court ruled on partial summary judgment motions in September 23. The district court said that the federal law preempted the provisions relating to presidential electors and mail-in voting. So the federal law beats the state law, and that Arizona must continue processing non-compliant state form registrations in accordance with the LULAC consent decree. Now, this LULAC consent decree we're going to talk more about. It's this private contract, basically, between an executive branch and another entity. Now, the RNC then, right, so in other words, process the illegal voter registrations. You don't need proof of citizenship. So then the RNC moved for a partial final judgment on those issues in early October, but the district court did not enter an appealable injunction until May 2nd, 2024. So then the applicants here sought an emergency stay of the injunction, right? So now there's a law that says that they can reject the ballots, and now they're being told, stop rejecting the ballots. Let in the no proof of citizenship stuff. And it's not necessarily the ballots. I keep saying that, but we're talking about registrations right now, which will ultimately lead to ballots, which is why I say that. So allow them now to continue to process those so that all of those ballots will go out all over the place. Stop it, right? You guys have to keep processing those. So on July 18th, a motions panel unanimously stayed the injunction to the extent that it prohibited the enforcement of that law. So they said, well, no, actually, the district court telling them to stop the processing, you stop. And Arizona, you can stop processing the registrations that don't have proof of citizenship. So then several plaintiffs sought reconsideration, right? Then they went back up to the Court of Appeals that just told them Arizona law is fine. Their motion did not raise any new arguments. It repeated the same argument that this LULAC consent decree barred Arizona. So this like private contract that was entered into stops Arizona from being able to even check for citizenship for state form registrants. And to support their reconsideration motion, they pointed out that the Maricopa Recorder had begun enforcing the documentary proof of citizenship requirement for state form registrants. They argued that this enforcement caused confusion and that this violated the Purcell principle. So they're saying, no, your change caused the confusion. So then the Ninth Circuit, they had an emergency briefing order. A divided merits panel lifted the partial stay over the judge's dissent. It found that the LULAC consent decree requires county recorders in various counties to accept state form applications without proof of citizenship, despite Arizona's new law. So the Arizona legislature passed a new law, but the LULAC, this is a consent decree. So it's between, let's say, the Secretary of State, I think they'll give us some facts on it, between the Secretary of State and some private organization. So the legislature has their power to pass legislation that governs the elections stripped from them because the Secretary of State entered into some other transaction with somebody else. They contracted away the legislative power. And it found that the original stay panel had caused a manifest injustice by failing to apply the Purcell principle to continue to enjoin enforcement of Arizona's law. So then Judge Bumate first noted that, this is unusual for a motion for reconsideration. How can you reconsider with no facts or law? Saying that 2 judges prevailed over 4 because of the luck of an internal Ninth Circuit draw, right? They just tried again, got a better draw. He explained that allowing a consent decree between a private entity to prevail over later statutory enactments, right? So it raises serious separation of powers concerns. He says, no, consent decrees must yield to statutory changes. The legislature has more power than a Secretary of State entering into some agreement that binds the rest of the state in perpetuity. He also noted that Purcell was not a tool to upholding injunctions barring the enforcement of state law. So you can't do any of that. Now, litigation affecting what will be printed on Arizona ballots must be resolved within a matter of weeks. So Supreme Court, we need you to hear this. Now, in order to grant stay, this court will do that if there is a reasonable probability. So in other words, stay the stopping of Arizona rejecting the registrations and the ballots. We need 4 justices. If we think that they'll consider this and grant cert, that's enough. Saying that if there's a prospect that the majority of the court will reverse below, you need to accept this. And if there's a likelihood of irreparable harm or injury that will result if you don't grant a stay, leads to us believing you should accept a review of this case. Saying there's a high probability here that this court would grant review, and there's a fair prospect that they would reverse this. Why? This court's prior orders granting stays of injunctions that change state election laws only confirm that the Ninth Circuit's actions need intervention here. They're giving us examples of other cases where 27 days before election, 36 days before election, 61 days before an election, this court would intervene. We know we're doing the same thing here, trying to avoid voter confusion on the eve of an election. The Ninth Circuit turned this shield for state laws into a sword to impose judicially mandated status quo, and this court is likely to review this. The Ninth Circuit actually displaced election rules that were enacted by the legislature, and they did that based on its erroneous conclusion that an executive branch official like the Secretary of State can bargain away to private litigants the legislature and the legislative branch and their constitutional authority to regulate elections. In 2018, then Secretary of State executed the LULAC consent decree, which provided that if an applicant submits a state form without a documentary proof of citizenship, she will be registered as a full ballot voter if her citizenship can be confirmed using information on a file with the Arizona Department of Transportation. If her citizenship cannot be verified, she will be registered as only a federal voter. Okay, so this person, they get a full ballot, a full Arizona ballot with the federal races and the Arizona races if they are citizens of Arizona. This is what I think it was Katie Hobbs, Secretary of State, who's now our governor, Katie Hobbs, was creating this deal. So Katie Hobbs enters into this deal with this LULAC, and then they agree, this is how we're going to do it indefinitely. And now the courts are saying that we're bound by that decree. Now, if the person's citizenship cannot be verified, they still get a federal-only voter. So they still get to vote in the federal elections. So there is no proof of citizenship. They still get a ballot. The ballot will still count. In 2022, the Arizona legislature exercised its authority under the Constitution and instead mandates that state forms lacking documentary proof of citizenship must be rejected, okay? You don't get a federal-only ballot. You don't get anything. We don't process it because you're not a citizen. The Ninth Circuit holding that the LULAC consent decree overrides the Arizona legislature is a serious separation of powers concern. It would mean that a judgment entered unilaterally by some executive branch officer like Katie Hobbs indefinitely displaced the legislature's power. In other words, the executive branch can circumvent the Congress. Such a judicially imposed distortion of the state. This happened all over the place, by the way, in 2020, all over the place. And they used COVID to do it. The state's chosen allocation of sovereign authority would now bind everybody. And in cases where different state actors have different views, it would present serious practical risks. An executive officer would be sorely tempted to dictate new terms by entering into a contract. The invocation of the consent decree to displace the Arizona legislature is serious, especially on issues of election administration. The Constitution, both the federal and the Arizona Constitution, says the state legislatures govern the elections, not Katie Hobbs and her contracts. Saying the Supreme Court is likely to reverse, this court displaced the displacement of Arizona. There's a lot of precedent for this. When a legislative body changes the law, you abide by that. Now, the majority's protestation that a legislature cannot nullify a judgment entered in by an Article III court, they're saying a consent decree is much different than that. If the Arizona legislature had rescinded voter registrations, it could have evoked constitutional concerns, but they didn't rescind anything. It's for new registrations coming down the line. Now, this case presents also two additional important election integrity issues. A state has a compelling interest in making sure we have qualified elections, and allowing an unqualified person to register and vote, it harms the right to the actual voters. It debases our votes. It dilutes our votes. It undermines our confidence in the electoral process. And so for this reason, this court has heard other cases about this before. There are similarly important issues here. Arizona law permits only those applicants who can provide documentary proof of citizenship to vote by mail. This restriction protects Arizona elections by giving mail-in voting, where the fraud risk is real, only to qualified citizens. The district court found that this also violated the federal rules. Even though the statute addresses procedures to register to vote in elections, there is a reasonable probability that this is about voter registration, not about voting. There was also more than fair prospect that the Supreme Court would reverse here. To begin with, the district court applied the NVRA, a law governing voter registration, to prohibit Arizona's requirement of documentary proof for citizenship in order to vote by mail. Neither the district court nor any party has reconciled this preemption of state mail voting rules by a statute that addresses the registration to vote process. They're just saying it's consistent with the purpose of increasing registered voters. So they haven't been specific enough about how that mail-in provision has been superseded. Now, the district court also read the NVRA to reach state rules about presidential electors. The district court ignored those textual limits because it thought that this court's decisions had expanded Congress's power. But no decision has given Congress this court has given Congress the power to displace state rules for registering and voting in presidential elections. That case merely confirmed something about the Federal Corrupt Practices Act. And if you don't grant a stay here, Supreme Court, there will be irreparable harm. The Ninth Circuit sidestepped the sovereign interest of Arizona by saying that even the Attorney General opposed the stay. Great, Chris Mays, who cares? But another Democrat doesn't want a stay. But in its legislature, The legislature has the authority, not all of these executive branch officials. The injunction harms the Arizona legislature as an institution that has the sole authority. They dictate the rules of the mail-in voting option. And the Secretary of State's promises in the LULAC consent decree cannot override the democratically enacted laws. It undermines the Arizona legislature and the people who are represented by them. It's also going to harm the RNC. We don't want changes in the 11th hour as an election is right around the corner. Here's some interesting numbers. According to the plaintiff's own expert, only 14.3% of federal-only voters are registered as members of the Republican Party. Look at that. While Republicans comprise 34.5% of the total registered voter population in Arizona. So 85% of the people who get those ballots, Democrats, or something like that. And because elections, like admissions, are zero-sum, they come at the expense of the other votes. The district court's order requires including individuals who have failed to satisfy the minimum state law requirements to be able to get a ballot. And so it would also harm the public interest. There's no evidence that proving that you're a citizenship is going to impede any qualified voter from registering to vote. I don't know what's so hard about proving you're a citizen to vote. Worse yet, the panel compounds the errors and they disregard an absolutely valid state statute. So they say that this court should issue a requested stay before August 22nd, 2024, respectfully submitted here in the United States Supreme Court from the RNC battling back all of those entities. So I think it's pretty clear on its face what it looks like. We see they don't want anybody to have to go through proving their citizenship because they'll get a valid federal ballot anyways. Just don't say it and they'll just get it. If you can't prove it, great, you'll get a federal only anyways. Amazing. And they'll be able to cast those ballots and vote. And 85% of them are not Republicans. So you can see why they fight so hard. And again, this is the same thing that happened in 2020. Okay, they're usurping the power from the legislature. The legislature tried to fix what happened in 2020. The courts are stealing it away from them again. And this was another big steal. Okay, the Ninth Circuit originally came back down and said, no, that's the law. You're allowed to do that. Then they requested a review. A new panel came about and reversed it. That's in Arizona. So in Arizona, we will have a ton of illegal aliens, unless this changes or unless the Supreme Court comes back out and reverses this, registering and getting ballots. That's how it's going to work. The consent decree at this moment, according to the Ninth Circuit, is overriding the state laws so that they can steal the state of Arizona again. All right, my friends. Now, let's see what you say about all of this. We had 3 good segments on the day. We talked about Jack Smith scrambling around on the J6 case. We had more updates on Smartmatic and the CEO and president and a lot of other people on the board or in upper echelon leadership there indicted. Not good. We're going to keep our eye out on that indictment as soon as that is unsealed or released. And of course, Arizona going to the Supreme Court, at least the RNC is, to try to get them to allow us to have actual elections in our state, free from illegal aliens voting in our federal elections. Now, my friends, it's time to hear from you. It's a beautiful Friday. Thank you for joining us. I hope your week was incredible and you're closing it out with an empty email inbox, a to-do list that has nothing on it, and a stack of mail that has been shredded. Let's see what you say about it, my friends. It's a beautiful day, and I appreciate all your amazing donos. Thank you for sending these in, sending us some love and support on the day. It's Snoopy in the house. What's up? Donut clipping for us. Happy Friday in the house. Amazing. Okay, the RP Games wants us to start over. All right, so ready? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode. All right, we'll start it over there. Hey, what's up, Charles? What's up, new supporter? Welcome aboard, Charles. Great to have you on the Membos Only morning stream. Mima. Welcome aboard, Mima. Bringing in 5 new membos. What's up? Kimberly Walters is here. Joan Kelly. Ban Chang Bill. What's up? Porsaw Jones. And Sir Don Tripp in the house, courtesy of Mima. Mima, great to see you. Thanks for being a membo and bringing in our newest of membos. Hey, it's the Munkets. So great to see you. Tony, hey, Munkets. What's up? 10 membos. Tony, you're the man. Angie Hogston's coming in. Shadow Axe Band. Miss T's here. Chase Junkie. Knowledge Tracker's coming in. JD Lamont, Gatekeeper. We got Ian Brown, JP, and Jeff Smith. Gifted membos, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets. Thank you, Tony Hay. Hey, it's the Munkets in the house. Whoa! We've got 3 babies. We got a bunch of babies coming in. Look at all these babies coming in. Here's one. 2 babies from Dax Inth in the house. 18 months as a membo, man. That's a long time, brother. Thanks for being here for so long. Whew. We've seen some serious business. And it's about to get worse. It's about to get hot, I think. Hotter. What's up? Another baby. Oh my gosh, Joan. It's a baby. Vote yes, Trump. No hairy balls. Definitely not. No hairy balls. But welcome aboard to our newest baby, Joan. Thanks for being here for 9 full months, going full term with us here. And it's going to be a great baby. I can just tell. It's going to be a soccer player. Hey, what's up? This one, 5 membos gifted. Tony Hay Munkets bringing in Sarah Gray, Charles Cornack, Reviant is in the house. Let me get that. What's up? Welcome. And Vibes in My Lanes. Vibes in My Lanes. Hey, what's up, B-Man? Says nothing would happen with the RNC if Mitt's niece was in charge. Laura Trump is lawyering up. I certainly hope so. Yeah, because, well, we're seeing some filing. I mean, was that from? Yeah, is that them? Yeah, that must be them, right? That's them. So that is the change, right? I think if it was Rana. Yeah, that is the RNC, right? The Council for Republican. That is them, I think. Yeah. That's great. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, B-Man. Hey, Mima. What's up, Mima? Lady of Quills in the house. Lady of Quills. Gifted a membo, courtesy of Mima. CD117, G Gabs here. James Torline, DJ Razor Edge of the Revelator. Whoa. That's a great name. What's up? Welcome aboard. Sheila Pooh, a million hugs to you with little piglet. Bringing in 5 new membos. Carol Mangum. We got Cyprian Cole. Robin is here. Robert Legier III and Mike Drop. Gifted membos, courtesy of Sheila Pooh. A million hugs to you, Sheila. We love you. Hey, what's going on? Voice of the People. Says there was another Fannie Willis hearing today. I saw some of that. Was it any good? I think we might clip some of that. She's not doing so well. I'm enjoying watching all this crash and burn now. She just needs to get reelected. I mean, it doesn't really matter, I guess. People of Georgia love it. They want more Big Fannie, baby. More Big Fannie, don't they? Sandy, what's up? Says, wonder if Biden's capitulation means Jack lost his protection for railroading Donald J. Trump. Ooh, that's a good question. So you think like Kamala would change something there? Like Kamala's not down with the political prosecutions? I don't know. I think she's just part of the same entity, honestly. But Jack, I think, is just, hoisted by his own petard, as they say. His indictment is riddled with immune conduct. Old Blue Eyes. What's up, Old Blue Eyes? Says, I hit that like button. Did you? It's a great question. It is a great question. Hey, what's going on? This one came in. Says, Rob, I can't share in locals since it's not in my budget, but I can share it here. So it is what it is, right? It is what it is, right? You're right about that, Rob. So your name is Rob. So you're not saying Rob. Your name is Rob. What's up, Rob? Says, I'm a bit on the late side, but here's my submissions of the photos of me in Iraq with Tim Walls nowhere to be seen. Rob, brother, thank you for sharing that, man. Thanks for your service, man. I don't think that you're late at all. I think this is a powerful image, and a lot of people are sharing these because a lot of people made a commitment, adhered to that commitment, and earned it. And he did not. So, brother, thank you for sharing that. And what's up, K Beans? Click it, liking those over there too. Says, I'm a bit on the late side. Great to see you, Rob. Thanks for sharing that, brother. We appreciate you, my man. Thanks for that one. Hey, here's one from Sheila Poo. 6 months as a membo. 2/3 of the way to a baby. Sheila, you're right, man. We're making it. Goes by fast, doesn't it? It goes by fast. Love this community. We love you back, Sheila, and you're really helpful and responsible for bringing in a lot of new people to the community. So thank you for that. We're grateful for it. Sandy says, the New York Status Conference was moved to September 16th with no time to appeal because the sentencing on the 18th date stays the same. Did he move it to the 16th too? Okay, yeah, I got to get my dates right on that. There's so many September dates, and I know he just moved it. They're all scrambling. The immunity decision, they don't know what to do because they indicted him for immune stuff like morons. Sorry, Mom. Sorry. Jeffrey Adams, what's up? Dominion and Smartmatic are independent companies that split from each other in 2012. Both Dominion and Smartmatic are companies that provide election systems consulting. Dominion entered into a partnership with Smartmatic in 2009. Yeah, and I think that's right. I think that there's, licensing agreements and they trade secrets and, develop this and develop that. Why don't we just have paper ballots and just prove you're a citizen? I don't think it's that complicated, is it? Why do we have these mysterious black boxes and these third-party providers and all these contracts? It's not that complicated. We just get it done. What's up? Sheila Poo says, I want to know if this will help in the state-level voter fraud cases with both Smartmatic and Dominion. Yeah, that's a good question. I think I could see a lot of judges just saying it's not relevant at all. They'll just say, oh, no, it's not relevant. No voter fraud allegations are happening there. There are some people, if you want to go down that conspiracy rabbit hole, like you could say there's some people who are very angry about what happened in, where's this happening? Is it Venezuela again? Yeah. So it is Venezuela again. Okay. So anyways, so people are saying maybe this Venezuela problem is connected to this with Maduro and all of that. Well, because I know the original was in Philippine, but there were Venezuelan citizens. We have the Hugo Chavez connection. I don't know. All right. Yeah, I don't know. But I could see a lot of judges who would just say it's not relevant and it's not necessary, to come in. Not necessary to come in as relevant evidence. In other words, you can't talk about the CEO's indictment in your voter fraud case. What's up, Spiral Games? Great to see you. Says, hear me out. Jack Smith bobblehead that says, I'm not a real boy for the merch store. LOL. It'd be great, man. It'd be a fun one to make. How do you make, is there a bobblehead like website? I go and make a Jack Smith bobblehead. I think it'd be hilarious. Yeah, I think it'd be hilarious. I'm not a real boy. We could send him one. What's up, Jack Mack? Good to see you, Jack. Membo bringing in new membos. Sodium Bromine is joining us. NABR is here. We have Chetty Mo. What's up, Ed Evans, Kelly Ann Minnis, and Devin McLevy in the house. What's up? Welcome aboard. All brought in courtesy of our good friend Jack Mack in the house. Jack, great to see you. Hopefully you had an amazing week out there. Hey, speaking of Jack, said it's hard for me to understand why there are any discussions about illegal aliens or non-citizens voting in state or federal elections. The intent behind that can only be nefarious. Cheating to win is not winning. Idiocracy. Yeah, they don't care about a functioning, country. They just care about raw power. And in fact, I think that the illegal alien problem serves them because it helps to buckle the system down, which allows them to create their little communist utopia where they just say everybody, society, just watch what's happening around the world. Just look around, we can see what's happening in the UK and elsewhere. And I don't know what their voting system is, but yeah, we're going to have a whole new generation, right? 30 million people are going to have a bunch of babies, and it's going to be a whole different country very soon. Very soon. Catania Nana, what's up? Says GOP needs to ignore the ruling like Biden does. Yeah, I can understand what you're saying. Yeah, they'd have to basically just go to a printer, and print things differently. I don't know that they mechanically could do that. Joe is in control of the executive branch, right? If you're in control of the executive, you get to ignore the courts and the legislatures. And the Republicans are not in control of the executive right now. It's the Democrats. Yeah, unfortunately. Catania says, smash that like button. Thank you for that, Catania. Great to see you. Here's one. Oh, Spuds. Viva and Barnes having a discussion. Viva and Barnes having a discussion. I didn't say that. Okay, I did not say that. Saintly Beginning says, did Trump appeal the hearing for the New York case already? Did it occur, or is sentencing occurring first? That's a great question. I think he has appealed it. I don't recall. There's so many dates, but I think that I think sentencing is before anything with the appeal, if I have to guess. Voice of the People says, I'm going to bring the whole Fannie Willis hearing tomorrow on my personal Rumble, but tonight is Meme Dumb Friday on Business Party Podcast. Mullet Mob Assemble. Man, that sounds like a hell of a stream. Meme Dumb Friday with a mullet mob on a Business Party Podcast. Woo, it's going to be lit over there, I can tell. Hey, Acid Burn, what's up? Gifted one membo to Mark Manning. Welcome aboard, Mark Manning. Remember Acid Burn from the movie Hackers? I love that movie. And Angelina. She was a babe in that movie. Hey, what's up, Carol Myers? Is our beautiful state of Arizona going to be screwed? It sure looks like that. Our legislature tried everything to get this done. And in the Court of Appeals, the Ninth Circuit just came out and was like, sorry, no. We love illegal votes. Sorry. Hey, what's up, Acid Burn? Gifted one more membo to EB. Hack the planet. Yeah, exactly. I'm too tweaked. Hack the planet. Acid Burn. And what was the other one? Acid Burn and what was the other dude? I can't remember the other dude's name. Acid Burn and Crash Overdrive. Was it Crash Overdrive? Is that the one? All right. 1 million hugs to Sheila the Pooh. Hey, what's up? Bringing in 10 new membos. 10 new membos. Sassy Patriots coming in. Jaira Goketsu. Welcome. We have this one. For Adrenochrome, Expect Us Legion. Looks like we got 4chan joining us. What's up? Zach is here. Nacho Mama is here. Iuski D Elite. Jody Hennessy. Welcome, Jody. Curtis Caruth. Chief Vince. And Steve Guardian. Gifted membos. Crash Override. What did I say? Overdrive? Crash Override. That's the one. That makes more sense. Yeah. Override the crash. Mima. 5 new membos. Thank you for bringing them in. Laura's here. Mike S. Lawful Axe. Strawberry. Squirrel Friend. Amazing. We got so many new membos. And it is a great idea when we're done here to check out the members only stream from this morning. If you're looking to see what else we talked about today, stuff we couldn't get to here. And we have a members only Saturday stream happening tomorrow, and it's going to be great. Salty Sarge says, hey Rob, I see you're still wearing some combat bruises. Hopefully you're winning a few. Persistence is our penitence. Do you see something? Yes, maybe this one over here a little bit. Yeah, it's been good, man. I've been having some good rolls. Still waiting for my heart and lungs though to catch up. They're not. I'm still, after the second round, we do 2 matches at the end. It's good. I'm feeling good. I wouldn't say I'm winning anything, but I am feeling pretty good about it. Getting my wrestling feet back under me a bit and figuring out. I just got a new book, actually. I just ordered one of those big, Bibles on it. So yeah, it's been fun. So, and I'm going to go tomorrow too. So I've been hitting two days a week. Salty Sarge, what's up? Richmond, north of Richmond, is 1 year old today. How time flies. I remember that. That was a phenomenon back in that time. Hey, this one came out from MAGA Hat Stays, a couple of posts. Said, breaking news, there's medical emergencies at the White House. And here's one. Yeah, Trump had an airplane problem as he was flying in to Montana. Yeah, so hopefully everything's all right on that. Here's one from MAGA Hat Stays. Why does it take 5 times longer to count with machines? Yeah, I don't know. In Arizona, it's so insane how long it takes. We were having numbers come out like a week after our last primary. So just get ready, my friends. Arizona's going to be a bedlam, and we have to figure out what to do about that. I've actually been thinking a lot about that. I'm like, man, should I just go freaking stand on a street corner? What am I doing here? Like, we're watching this. We're watching them right now. Rice, baby. Bruce Rice, baby. Bringing in Patrick Ryan, baby. What's up? Sarah K coming in. Thanks, Bruce. We got Just Call Me Billy. Everyone does. We will do that, Billy. Death Devastation. Oh, no. We have Lisa Compton. What's up? Cynthia Cotney. Brian Corwin. JF gifted a membo. Let's Go Gadsden. And Wojo gifted membos courtesy of Bruce Rice, baby. Thank you for that. Hey, no, American Dreamer says, did you talk about Trump's plane having a problem? No, I didn't mention it. I should have. I should have mentioned it at the outset. In fact, I intended to, but I didn't. But my understanding was it was a hydraulic problem or something like that. I'm hopeful that's all it is. We're always curious where Liz Cheney is anytime something like this happens. Like, was she near the plane at all? Like, Liz Cheney, was she at the same airport? You know, I have the same question about Butler. Was she there? We don't know. All right. What's up, Todd Lupe? Todd, what's up? Bringing in a new membo. Ed Wagner's coming in. Courtesy of Todd. Thank you, Todd, for bringing in a new membo. And Martha Maldonado. Martha, thanks for this one. What a nice hug. Hugs right back. Thanks for being a supporter on this beautiful day. Grateful to have you here. Let's say hello to our friends on X. Then we're going to go over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for a members-only debrief and after party. Let's see who is joining us. Do we have any comments over here? We do. Paul Mino. What's up, Paul? Good to see you. Paul Mino, one of our meme smith extraordinaires, says, I carried weapons of war in a war. JD says, you're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. Trump says, Kamala knows how to pick 'em, and so do I. There you go from Paul Mino. Thank you, Paul. Beautiful Meme Friday. Hey, I hate to have to inform you this, but you've been hacked by YouTube ads. This is great news, actually. I love this. Okay, if YouTube is going to shove any ads in front, like, we get a cut of this, by the way, okay? Like, your boy is like, you know, we get a cut of this. Like, that's how this whole thing works. So it's great news. Like, if they're going to spam you guys, you know, with these ads, like, I'm sorry they're bad ads, but in all realistic, in reality, they're paying us to dunk on them. You understand how that, like, that's incredible. Like, sure. They're contributing to our efforts here. Like, it's like they're sponsoring the show. Like, they're literally sponsoring the show. So, okay. We'll take it. Sounds good. Thank you. You know, sounds good. We'll take it. Hey, what's up, Fred? Says, isn't Jack Smith the same special counsel that was deemed illegal in Florida? He absolutely was. Yes, he was. Yeah, Kika says, remember how Sidney Powell was mocked for linking Smartmatic and Dominion way back? Yeah, by the way, they were involved in Venezuelan elections. All that's very curious. Brad says, no show tonight. Yeah, it's right on. It's on right now. We got some good memes over there, too. All right, so my friends, those are over on X. You can always follow us over there at Rob Govea ESQ to join us while we're having some fun on X. We like to repost some of our stuff over there, and it's a great way to follow other watchers out there in the wild and in the wilderness of X. But my friends, hey, here's one. Jack Mack says, you sounded just like Pinocchio, Rob. You may have a great voiceover career in your future. Yeah, maybe, you know, maybe I can do short films or something for Pinocchio 3 or something. It's the Jack Smith voice, but it is inspired by Pinocchio, for sure. For sure. Jack Smith wants to be a real boy, and he's never going to be one. Sorry, Jack. All right, so my friends, thank you so much for joining us on this incredible week. We are going to go over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com, hang out, and debrief for a bit. Members, we will see you back here tomorrow morning as well for our Saturday members-only stream. Would love it if you became a member. We have very fun streams, whether you join on YouTube or on Locals. We'll see you there. And we also will see you in the mornings when we do our members-only streams then. But my friends, we're going to leave it there. I want to say thank you to our amazing mods and meme smiths. We got Playing Hooky in the house. I think I saw Zulu in the house. Don't mind me, as always, clipping away hard for us. Carrie B, we're shouting out. We got K Beans in the house. And we saw Palmy No today. And it's just great to see everybody. Donuts modding all over the place, man. Donut, thank you so much for that. My friends, that is going to be it for us on the day and on the week. It's been a busy week. Next week, it's going to be the same. And we're very much looking forward to going through it with you. Thank you for subscribing to our channel wherever you're watching it and inviting someone to come over here and join us. We're going to leave it there on the week and on the evening. But I hope that your weekend is incredible. I hope it's filled with a bunch of fun stuff, something exciting, something good, something energizing, something maybe you don't normally do, maybe something delicious, 2 scoops of ice cream if you've deserved it, and you know you have. We're going to recharge ourselves, restore our spirits, rejuvenate our souls, come back in here on Monday to get into it all again. And in order to do that, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. An amazing weekend. I'll see you right back here on Monday. Bye-bye.